Hey guys, welcome to Vlogmas Day 1. So it's not December yet, but it's also not spooky season anymore. So, yeah, it's Vlogmas now. So, joke number 2 out of our vlogs is we'll just get on with it. Do you take it like cows?
No, why?
Look at those calves.
We love muscle jokes.
So, with that joke, we will be leading you into what we will be talking about today. Muscles. I have none. That was so. Okay, so I'm editing in this because I got this in it's Angry Birds. I got this in 5th grade, I think, but I'm cold, so I'm wearing it. It's a blanket. Anyway, so I was editing this and I realized that it's kind of out of context. So basically, after that little great montage, now we're actually going to be learning stuff. This here again is a crusted, dusted, rusted, busted Skittle, and we will be taking it along the membrane of a cell because it represents action potential. Skittles are inedible.
Always end up crying. Oh, you can't blame a girl for trying.
So what you saw there was the Skittle representing the action potential propagating down the sarcolemma. So what happened was that as the action potential was generated and propagated down, it changed the permeability of some parts of the sarcolemma, which caused voltage-gated ion channels to open, sodium voltage-gated ion channels, which allowed the sodium on the outside of the membrane to flow inside, making the inside positively charged.
An easy way to remember this is you see how these are butterflies right here. The sodium ions are butterflies. Well, Hannah Montana has done us many favors in this class, and here's another one. You know when she sings that song with Billy Ray Cyrus, I butterfly fly away. Butterfly fly away. See, the butterflies, also known as sodium, are flying into the membrane.
Wow.
Okay, thanks Hannah Montana. Moving on. It's just the inside of a membrane. This is a whole neuron right there. And this is the axon terminal.
Yeah, this represents the axon terminal of a separate neuron, and this is the synapse connecting these two neurons. This part is kind of like a zoomed in version.
But this is a super zoomed in version of that.
The membrane of the neuron.
So this is separate than that.
Yes.
There we go. And so these red and pink little things are the neurotransmitter acetylcholine.
Yeah.
And these are where the acetylcholine comes out of the axon, and right now these acetylcholines are in the synapse and they are going to the membrane.
So what happens here is that these neurotransmitters of acetylcholine are released from the axon terminal by exocytosis, and then they diffuse across the synaptic cleft or the synapse to reach the other side of the neuron, and these little divots here are the acetylcholine receptors. So they will receive the acetylcholine neurotransmitters to start the next step of the process.
Okay, and going with the next step of the process, we have our sister Sticky Skittle, and remember, this is our little action potential here, so you can remember the Skittle is the potential because the Skittles have the potential to be good, but usually they're not. So
it propagated along the sarcolemma, and then this yellow pipe cleaner here represents the T tubules.
anyway, now we're going down the T tubules, and some people may ask, like, how do I remember that this is a T-tubercle? Well, don't worry, I got you covered, girl. So, basically, there's Kylie Jenner, and then there is Tyga. His name starts with a T. Tyga has many downfalls, but he also has some good things that happen. And so his life basically looks like this.
Like down?
Like down,
And
and
then
sometimes up and down and up. So some of his downfalls, to remember that he has them, were like leaving his baby to go to Coachella. And then some of the upfalls would be like... Upfalls? Upfalls. Sorry, I'm illiterate. I would mean like good things that happened in his life, but upfalls. Wow. Sorry. Would be like
The upsides of
the
his
upsides
life.
of his life. We don't have any specific examples right now. Well, it looks like this video just turned into a spilling tea session, but I'm sure he's done good things, really, yeah. Examples right now,
But I'm sure
there are some. So that's how you remember that.
And he used muscles to do those things. So as the action potential propagates down the teeth tubules, it causes these sarcoplasmic reticulums, which hold calcium ions within them, to release those calcium ions. And then the calcium ions will travel to a muscle cell, which is pictured here. And then these calcium ions will bind to a special little molecule called troponin. So continuing on, so those calcium ions that were released, they will go to a muscle cell. So here you can see this blue straw thing is the actin filament, and this yellow is the troponin complex, and the pink thing is the tropomyosin molecule. And if you look down here to this white clay thing, this represents the myosin filament. So what's happening here is that when there's like a low concentration of calcium in the muscle cell, there are myosin cross bridges on the myosin filament, but when there's low calcium, this little thing, tropomyosin, is like blocking the active site where those myosin cross bridges are supposed to bind to the actin filament, so it can't like do that. But then once the calcium ions kind of come into play, they will bind to the troponin complex right here, and the troponin complex will change shape in a way that causes this tropomyosin to like stop blocking it, and so the myosin cross bridges are able to bind to the actin filament so that contraction can occur, because when they're not binded, then that means that the muscle is in a state of relaxation.
This is Romeo, this is Juliet. This calcium is, let's say it's
Batman.
Death. Death, and the only way for them to be together is death, but because they both die. But the tropomyosin is like
The families.
the family and the will to live. So that goes away, and they're dead and together again.
And
so
death.
Romeo and Juliet
We love
together
love.
again. Love. There we go. Representation of a muscle. You got what it means
Literature.
to love, and literature.
Yeah.
So all your bases are covered. Who needs school when you have us? Everybody needs school. Don't listen to us. That's who. So yeah, go to school, kids.
Okay, so continuing on from that, this here is our myosin head, which is binded to our actin filament here. And these here are ADP and phosphate. So what happens is that when, like, this is the sliding filament theory. So when the myosin head is kind of like pulled along, or when the myosin head pulls on the actin filament, it slides it towards like that way, which causes the ADP and the phosphate to be released, And then that will cause a new ATP molecule to come in and attach to the myosin head, which detaches the myosin from the actin filament. And then after that, this ATP molecule is split again by ATP hydrolysis, which causes it to turn into ADP and phosphate again. And so the myosin head is kind of like cocked back into place. Ta-da! Because we love our star-crossed lover sisters, except they're not sisters because that would be weird. Okay, so anyway, so first we have this little guy, the myosin head, and it's connected because remember this guy, the will to live, is gone. So he's still gone. He's still out of the picture. But now we have some methods of death. We have just methods of death right here, and those are represented by ADP and P. And so basically what happens is so Romeo is like pulling, like trying to like bind them together in the afterlife. He's pulling. He's trying really hard. Like, give him props, guys. He's trying to get them together. Get you a man like that.
Get you a man like that.
TBH.
Yes. But then, so as they are dying, the methods of death goes away. Because remember how the death was fake at first? So we're just going to remove the methods of death because they were fake. It was all a scam.
Because it was poison, and that's just toxic.
Yeah. Just like their relationship. Just kidding. We love you guys. We ship you. Anyway, so then we have ATP. And this guy is like, okay, so Romeo and Juliet. So Juliet tries to like fake poison herself with like a sleeping potion. And so she thought she might die, which are the methods of death right here. And then this little guy is like, you're gonna awaken. So now she's awake. And but the thing is, they're not together anymore because Romeo has died. Romeo is dead because he stabbed himself with the methods of death. But Juliet is alive because she woke up with that little jewel known as ATP. And so then she's like, you know what? No, we're not going to wake up. We're going to use the Romeo's methods of death to kill ourselves so we can once again be binded together. And let's just move the methods of death back. The ADP and phosphate, and then once again they will connect again and the whole process will start over. Thanks for listening to Shakespeare.
Oh, and just to clarify, this whole thing is like contraction.
Oh yeah, that is contraction.
If that wasn't clear.
So there.
Okay, so that whole little thing that we showed you was the process of contraction with the myosin, like attaching and then detaching, attaching and then detaching. That whole thing is contraction. But then what happens is that the calcium ions that were attached here, they are removed by active transport from the cell. And they go back to this here sarcoplasmic reticulum, and this happens like once the action potential has like propagated down and like reached the very end. So once the action potential has reached its end, that's when the calcium ions like are removed and they go back to where they were. And then with the removal of those calcium ions, that means that tropomyosin here can go back and block that active site, which means that there is no more contraction and the muscle is back into they're back into a relaxed state.
Okay guys, that was our Vlogmas Day 1 completed, so you can check that off your bucket list.
And make sure to like and subscribe and join the Mad Lib army.
If you want more videos like this. I mean, you probably don't, let's be real. But in case you do, we're here for you.
And more videos are linked down in the description. You can buy our merch. Music video coming out.
Muscles for Christmas. We want muscles.
To get
All
fit.
I want for Christmas is muscles. Before we go, we do have a little interpretive dance for you.
That means
flip
Liberty
through-
does.
Just okay, now go. Okay guys, if you remember back to our little Romeo Juliet story, I am Juliet, also known as the myosin, and here's my interpretive dance. So basically, what that was the myosin attaching itself to that actin.
Yes, I get it now.